Hi guys, Tugger here with a new video, and this video will be me covering the new balancing changes that they came out with on a blue post. Like I said on my tier lists, um, people that made tier lists like a season 1 tier list for Dragonflight are going to have to remake the tier list because a lot of things are going to change. A lot of alarmists statements are coming out on Reddit, like X class is dead, X class is spec is dead. I feel like that's an over exaggeration. I'm going to show you with numbers as well, but also why you should not be as dramatic as people are right now, right? But I'm very happy with those changes. Let's start with this. I'm very happy with all the changes that they made. Some changes I would say like are mild, but again, they stated that they will change more things about PvP in the coming weeks, especially on the first week of season 1. They are like planning a lot of other changes that are going to help with the balancing. Now let's talk right away with the changes. I'm going to skip everything that is tank related because I want to talk specifically about PvP and if it's going to change anything PvP wise in BGs, arenas, open world, whatever, right? Okay, let's talk directly about Demon Hunter. The hunt damage reduced by 10%, which basically is a alright nerf, but I think it's not going to change anything. I would say power level wise at the damage compartment, but the second part of that nerf is very interesting. Like Follower to the Flame proc rate no longer scales with haste. Me myself, I didn't know that it was actually affected by haste, but we learn everything every time something new every day, right? And this might affect the amount of healing they are going to produce on themselves in arenas, for example. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a huge factor. We need to test it, but it's a nerf. I think it's a welcome nerf. Follow to the Flame is one of those boring spells, passives that are going to pop up in the game, and you know randomly that you're going to lose a 1v1. Like if you're versus a demon hunter, how many times does Further to the Flame actually proc whenever he had like 10% HP and then he gets full HP with just a proc? I feel like they should redesign it. I don't really like it. I prefer that they have an unused spell like a 1.5 minute CD where they proc Further to the Flame and then you get a demon and then you can just destroy the demon to get the health and the damage boost. But that procking and such is really toxic to the PvP as a whole. But that's my opinion. But we are going to cover the balancing changes. Druids getting nerfed on regrowth again, 6%. I think it's mostly a PvE change because they want people to not spam regrowth, because there is a spec where you could spam regrowth and get substantial healing. But I think in PvP it's not only about regrowth. Life Bloom is healing for a lot. Rejuvenation is actually healing for a lot, and just in general, HOTS are doing great. I don't think regrowth is going to make Resto Druid a B tier spec. I think it's like a S A tier spec. In my books, it's more an S tier spec because it's not going to get overly nerfed compared to an Evoker, for example. But we will see how it will go season 1 whenever I'm going to make a meta tier list where I'm going to compare my prediction with the tier list that is going to be live whenever season 1 is going to be up and running. Hunter. Hunter is going to get a nerf on Steel Trap, but I think Steel Trap is not only made like you're not going to do that for the damage, right? So it's alright. Explosive Shot getting a damage boost is actually very huge, especially since Marksmanship Hunter gets a aura buff, and it is an aura buff of 10%. So it means that Explosive Shot will be increased by even more. It's not going to be a 25% increase, I think, because it's going to be a 15% of that damage and then a 10% of that damage, so it's not going to be a 25% increase, but we will see how it's going to evolve. That's only maths, right? But I think getting damage buffs are going to be very interesting in PvP. Now I don't know if it's going to be enough to make like tip the edge towards like a S tier spec, I would say, but for now, I think the damage is alright. I think it's just a bit clunky from the things that I've heard. I'm not planning really to play marksmanship this season. It might be changing with if they change a lot of things. I feel like marksmanship is not really changing since Shadowlands, right? So for me, it's a spec that I'm not really as excited as, let's say, a arms warrior, for example, at this moment. Survival hunter getting a 5% buff. It's an aura buff, so it's going to be not really 5% increased damage on your meters, but it's going to be substantial. Like whenever you're doing a kill shot, whenever you're doing a big mongoose bite, you're going to feel it that the 5% is going to add up. But we'll see. I feel like survival, what makes survival very good in twos is not really the damage. I feel like it's more about the CC. And in 3v3, I feel like, again, the damage is not really the thing that is going to make you win games. So I think it's more or less a PvE change. And in PvP, I think 5% will not be as noticeable as, let's say, a 10% increase on Marksmanship Hunter, which is basically their USP, unique selling point, is basically doing a lot of damage. Or Survival Hunters, I feel like the unique selling point of Survival Hunter is actually be very bursty whenever you're going to CC a target, and not like in random occasions where you're going to actually cleave targets. That's not going to happen. I think overall Marksmanship Hunter really benefit of a damage buff, while a Survival Hunter is more or less like PvE if it's going to get a damage buff, like for example a 5% damage buff. Alright, mages. Fire mages get a substantial buff on Pyroblast, Fireball, Scourge, whatever. I feel like it's not enough to make it very, very viable. I feel like it's not as bad as people think or say. People are very overly dramatic on Reddit, but the only problem is Combust is dispellable. I feel like if they made a PvP talent where Combust was not dispellable, but the duration is a bit less or something is a bit less, I think it would be much better for fire. But there's just a lot of random things that is going to happen, and you get debuffed. Like for example, Evokers can debuff with Fire Breath. So if in the occasion you're doing Combust and they are going to do their burst, your Combust is going to be gone. Of course, it's you that has to actually manage and to not like burst whenever they burst. But I think just a lot of things that are making fire mages are a bit harder to play since Shadowlands, because in Shadowlands you had like a legendary to pop like 3 shields on you, so you had some dispel protection. But right now the dispel protection is really like null. It's not really as easy as in Shadowlands. Rogues Assassination Exsanguinate cooldown increased to 3 minutes, was 45 seconds, and the bleed effect magnitude reduced to 80%. I think it's still usable. It's going to be good whenever you're going to like put all the CDs and try to burst someone. But I think, like they say, they plan on actually moving, replacing, or redesigning the spell. So I would not. I think they will probably change it in next patch or the patch after. Like it's a great contender of a rework for 10.0.5, and I think it's going to happen. So Assassination Rogues, I think you should maybe try to play something else instead, so you can already know how it is going to feel without Exsanguinate. Monks. This is PvE, I don't care. Mistweavers, Vivify heal to primary target increased by 20%. That's substantially a lot. I think in PvP it's going to be a bit too much, but whatever. And increase healing on enveloping mist and renewing mist. And Yulan now heals for 5 targets and healing increased by 15%. Now I'm not really a huge connoisseur of Mistweavers, but I think it is going to be very good in PvP. In my books, it is A tier. I think it's not really aggressive though, but they tried to change it with the PvP changes, which you're going to read really soon. But let's talk right away about paladins. That's a PvE change, so I'm not going to cover it. Restoration Shamans getting a 5% buff on healing is actually substantial. Now, I don't know if it's going to be enough in PvP, but I feel like every buff to healing is a welcome change to Restoration Shaman. And Acid Rain damage increased by 50%. I don't know if there is a location where you could do Acid Rain in PvP. So I guess it's fine for PvE, for Mythics, like Mythic Plus. But I don't think it's going to be very good in PvP, and I think you just don't have the points to actually spend on it. Warlocks getting a nerf, a soulish nerf, now converts 3% of damage dealt to an absorb shield, was 6%. Well, I have a good meme that I've made really quickly. Can I open the link? Yes, sir. Look at this. Look at this. Affliction Warlock. They are not noticing it. I play Affliction. I know he's going to get nerfed eventually, probably to the ground, but for now they dodge all the possible nerfs. Warrior arms fueled by violence now heals for 85% of the damage done by deep wounds was 65%. I must say in BGs you healed for a crap ton on fueled by violence, because you can also have the PvP talent on Bladestorm that basically gives like deep wounds on everyone, and you can sustain a lot because of that. And you can also have a big heal because of skull splitter. So I really like what they do, because to be honest, everyone has passive healing, so you have to give it to arms, or else it becomes a bit harder. I'm a bit biased. I really like arms, and the more I see about arms, the more I see and know that my prediction about arms is going to be very true. I think it's going to be very meta, and for me, in my eyes, it is already meta. So we will see in Soul Shuffle and in arenas, in RBGs, how it's going to be. But in my opinion, it is already meta, and you can also brace yourself because the one shots are going to be glorious. Now let's talk about DKs, PvP changes. Um, that's something where people are overreacting for some reason. They are saying that that class is dead, but I'm going to actually talk and let you know that what they changed doesn't matter, because previous expansion in Shadowlands, you had no Will of the Necropolis as an Unholy DK or a Frost DK. Anti-magic shell absorption amount reduced by 25% in PvP combat. It looks bad, but if you go to the unholy, like the class tree, something that Frost DK never had, and Unholy DK actually only took versus specific caster cleaves, are anti-magic barrier. You get a 40% amount absorbed increase on the AMS plus increase in duration. So 25% less on something that already gives 40% increase. I think it's an alright nerf, because it's going to be still better than Shadowlands. It's for Frost DKs especially, the AMS shield is going to be better than in Shadowlands. So I'm a Frost DK main. I like Frost DK, and I feel like that nerf is justified. You should not be able to automatically win because you used AMS, and the same for AMZ. Like here, the increase to the duration, the amount absorbed has been reduced by 50%, so it will be 20%. So basically, you lose nothing. I think you should even maybe ignore the AMB, the anti-magic barrier talent, because basically you're going to, or else you should not ignore it, because again it softens the nerf of that shield AMS. But I feel like a lot of people are overreacting. Like I saw so many videos with thumbnails saying, "Oh my god, that class is dead. These classes are dead. Oh my god, it is over." Come on, man. Look, this is normal. Like DKs should be nerfed. I love DKs, but they should be nerfed. They should not feel tanks in PvP while doing damage, like top damage of the whole PG. That's not justified. The same for warlocks. They should nerf it, but they will nerf on the wrong things. They should nerf Soulburn, for example. I think I'm going to make a video about it, but they should nerf Soulburn. It should not be a 6-second CD, because that's basically what's making it very hard to kill a warlock, because they can basically Soulburn, drain life, Soulburn, Halfstone, Soulburn, drain life again, and then Soulburn gateway to run away, Soulburn TP, and all that in the 6-second CD, and that's maybe a bit too much. But this is justified. Abomination Limb will no longer pull individual enemy players more than once over its duration. So if you pop Abomination Limb, it only grabs one time the player and then it's done. It's an okay nerf. I'm going to say I think Blizzard are going into the right direction. They're going to try to remove all those mini CCs in the game, because it's not possible to buff casted abilities, because people can't cast versus, let's say, DKs, let's say DHs, let's say other stuff that actually like gives mini CCs all the time. Like they can buff even Chaos Ball by 200%. That wouldn't even matter, because there are too much or too many mini CCs in the game, which makes it very hard to balance things. So I think Blizzard are going to go to the direction where they're going to nerf a lot of mini CCs to a point where it's not possible to CC maybe in PvP. so they might remove it. Like for example, the silencing arrow shit, like I don't know how it's called, from the hunters. They removed the silence effect in PvP. It was in beta whenever they did that. So they are trying to remove like a bit of CC, because whenever there's too much CC in the game, it's very hard to actually cast. And the better specs are the ones that have instant cast. Like for example, my destruction warlock, it's already level 70, already fully max geared. I play a build which is basically playing a instant cast build. I cannot do a chaos bolt cast build. It's not going to be happening in BGs because nobody's going to let me cast. In arenas, in social flow, it's going to be exactly the same. So I think it's a good thing whenever they're removing it. I think it's even maybe not worth to take it as a Frost Decay, because you don't really have a lot of damage on Abomination Limb, because Frost Decays, their mastery is about frost damage, and Abomination Limb is shadow damage. So I think Unholy Decays are going to take it for the damage, and Frost Decays might just go for something else, because maybe it's better to go for another haste effect, or maybe improvement on the Runeforge weapon enchant, or for example the execute effect that you can have on the last keystones talents. Improved death strike increase to death strike healing has been reduced by 50%. It's a nerf. It's a bit annoying for Frost, especially. I think Unholy has a lot of mini healing effects with necrotic wounds and such. But Frost Decays, they will suffer from it. I'm going to be honest, that's maybe a bit too much for Frost Decay. They might have reduced it for 25%, and I would be okay. That's maybe the most nerf that it could happen to Frost Decay. But again, I think the changes to Frost Strike actually doing a lot of damage makes it that you're not going to spam Death Strike anyways, especially in arenas where you have a healer. You're going to Death Strike at specific moments whenever you're getting bursted. You want to recover the HP that you lost because of the burst. That's at the moments where you're going to Death Strike, but you're not going to Death Strike spam like previous expansion, where Frost Strike didn't really do enough damage to warrant the amount of rune power you're going to use on that said ability. Unholy getting nerfed, I think it's normal. I think what I like is they give always like something as an explanation towards the big nerfs that they are going to do. And I'm very happy how they are going to deal with it. I hope they change many more things. Death Knights don't really need nerfs on damage, so I hope they don't do that. But if they do, I think they should nerf a bit of burst and give it back to consistent damage. That would be easier to balance, first and foremost, but also more enjoyable to play in any regards, right? Druids getting nerfed on budding leaves. I don't really know what it is. I think it's about life bloom. So here, life bloom has been a higher percentage of druid healings breakdown in PvP, and they want to change that. So it will not be first healing on the healing meters, I think. But before it was, at least. Evoker's getting nerfed, so I'm very happy. They nerfed the burst for Fire's Breath's initial damage, and also Scarlet adaptation. So 30%, 30%. It will be a big hit on the burst potential of Fire Breath and Evokers. I'm very happy about that, because I think it's like obnoxious to play against. That you know that you have to pop everything or else you're dead. And I like that they buff the consistent damage for Disintegrate Empire. It does a lot of damage. Let's be honest, it's still going to be doing a lot of damage, but at least it's not going to be a one trick where you're going to try to do the one shot and then that's it. So I hope they will change that. So for now, I'm very happy with the changes, and I hope they try to give some love towards like the consistent damage side of things for Evokers. Preservation getting a nerf on mana, as expected. They will get 1 point, especially I hope the mana costs are good enough to get as preservation. If not, then I think they will follow with other nerfs on the spec. Mages getting nerfed on the actual burst damage potential with nether precision. That is the proc. Whenever you get it, you get like 2 arcane blasts with more damage. So I guess that's a nerf. Prodigy 7th, I don't know what it is. I think it's with Arcane Barrage, if I'm not mistaken. And Arcane Bombardment is the execute from Arcane Barrage. So if you're like beneath 20% health or 35% health, you get a increase on damage on your Arcane Barrage. So that's nerfed. I think it's fine as long as it's not going to touch Arcane Surge and such. Yeah, Arcane Missiles. I want Arcane to be very strong this season. I don't want to be playing versus an S tier spec, but I prefer it to see it as A tier instead of a D tier spec. So I'm very happy and excited to play against them, although it's very frustrating for me as an arms warrior. Frost mages are going to get nerfed on the glacial spike. So this person code is the icicles and frostbolt, I think. Icicles and frostbolt. 50% effective in PvP combat, so it will be 10% instead of 20%. 20%. Ice Lance damage increased by 20%. It's a buff overall. You're going to do a lot more damage with Ice Lance. I think Ice Lance builds are the meta for Frost mages. I don't know if it's going to be very fun though, but it is the meta, so it's a change of pace compared to previous expansion where you did only Frostbolt and that's it. PvP Town Snowdrift no longer has a cast time, so that's the stun, if I'm not mistaken. So a AoE stun that you do on yourself. So whenever you're getting a lot of meaties on you, you do Snowdrift, and after a few seconds they get stunned because of the slow effect. And it's also a reduced effect by 45 seconds. So I think it's very good for Frost mages. Versus melee cleaves, you might be able to actually survive because you don't need to cast. At least you will not get kicked. So you have a lot of possibilities to actually kite and try to kill people with it. Monks gets a buff on Ancient Teachings of the Monastery. So basically, whenever you're hitting in melees, you're going to heal your friends. So I think it's good, but again, monks are very, very susceptible to actually die in stuns still. And the TP, the escape of reality, is a thing, so you can survive it, I guess, by TPing. But often what you could do is actually stun him, he will TP, you'll change onto someone else, he'll TP back, or he stays where he is. Depending on where he is, it becomes very hard to actually heal because you need 3 GCDs to actually heal back people. So you might just win because of a stun, right? So I don't know. We will see how Mistweavers will be. In my books, it is still a tier or S tier spec, more or less A tier, because I think Resto Druid and Evokers are a bit above, but I think Mistweavers are very good in PvP at the moment, and all those buffs will just make it and tip it over to the edge, right? So we will see how it will be in Season 1. Rogue, the Echoing Reprimand damage is reduced by 30% in PvP combat. Logical, the one shot was too easy to do in my opinion, and there is no reason to get one shot with a builder, but it will still do damage. So instead of doing 100k, it will do 70k. So I think it's alright. Shaman. Enhancement Shaman gets nerfed on the overall burstiness of Elemental Blast or Lightning Blast, Lightning Bolt, for example, and also for the healing. So your self healing will be nerfed, but you get increase on consistent damage with Storm Strike. So you could do a Storm Strike build and do a lot of damage with it. So in my books, it's a win for enhancement. I think consistent damage is king. So if your consistent damage is very high, you're going to do very good in this expansion. Elemental gets nerfed on Magma Chamber, so that's the proc that you get whenever you're doing a Flame Shock. It gets damaged, and you will get a stack of Magma Chamber, and whenever you have 20 stacks, you will do insane amount of damage, and that's nerfed by 50%. I think it's alright. You can do still a lot of damage with Earth Shock and Elemental Blast, but I think it's not warranted to do such easy kills with Magma Chamber, because basically you're going to Flame Shock everyone, and at one point you can just Earth Shock anyone and do a lot of damage, or Ele Blast and literally one-shot someone. So for me it's alright. I think Elemental is a very fun spec, so people will still be good with it. Warlock, Curse of Tongues, reduce cast time by 10% in PvP combat. It's obnoxious to have it on yourself, but mostly Warlocks are going to use Curse of Exhaustion. So I guess it's a nerf, but it's not going to be very noticeable. At least it will not be noticeable in arenas or in BGs. And again, the Amplify Curse, I guess that's the bigger nerf. Like 35% was really big, but now 20%, I guess it's going to be alright. But I think what I do is Amplify Curse with Curse of Weakness to make people not crit. So it's a lot easier to survive, and that's not nerfed, so alright. So Warriors, like I said, my prediction is going to be super right, they're going to buff Arms Warriors to a point where it's going to be very meta, and I think Fury Warriors are going to be next. They will get nerfed in next patch, and I think Arms is going to be back at A tier or S tier. Mortal Strike damage is no longer reduced by 30%, so instead of doing 7k, you will do 10k, basically, because before, whenever you did 10k, it will do 7k, so it's minus 30%. Sharpened Blades now increases critical strike damage by 5%. It is noticeable, but again, I think as long as the consistent damage of the non-crits are very high, I don't mind to do a bit less damage on crits. It's 5%, it's not really a big deal. Martial Prowess, I did a video where it was 60%, now it's 30% whenever you stack, but if you did your math correctly, it is still a overall buff on Mortal Strike. Whenever you're doing a 1 stack, you're going to get a buff, overall buff on Mortal Strike. Whenever you're doing a 2 stack, you're going to do an even better buff on Mortal Strike. And without stacks, you're going to do insane amount of damage. So I think Mortal Strike in total is winning between 15% and 20% damage, just baseline, because of the overpowers. So whenever you're doing an overpower, you will get like 15% increased damage, and then a 20% increased damage because of this, like compared to previously, right? So it's overall a very good change. I think it's going to hit for a lot. Execute damage increased by 20% in PvP combat. Guys, I do already 89k with my execute, so you can already imagine the amounts of damage I'm going to do whenever I get 20% increased damage on execute. I like it. Rend damage getting reduced by 15%. It's a shame. They did really nerf a lot of bleeds, like the Thunder Roar's Roar is already nerfed in PvP. So that's a shame. And Rend is also nerfed in PvP, and Skull Splitter is probably next. So they're going to nerf Skull Splitter probably by half or something like that. So we will see what they are going to do. It's a shame because I really like the playstyle, but it was already expected. So in my mind, I already was looking for other builds to actually show my viewers. So if you want to see my other build, I've made a build video about Arms Warrior, a quick plug. If you want to watch it, you can enjoy your time as an Arms Warrior. So overall, these changes, I'm very, very happy. I'm less dramatic as my fellow YouTubers or Redditors. There is no class that is actually dead. I think Evoker is not dead either. I think they're going to do great. If Disintegrate Empire does damage, it will be the preferred playstyle instead of going for a one-shot Fire Breath, which is still possible, by the way, but it is just going to be lessened, right? I'm very happy with overall changes, and I'm looking forward to more changes. Again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon with a next video. Have a great day. Bye.